Welcome to another OCD Recovery Instagram Live. I'm going to be talking a little bit about fear of fear, a common topic that we cover a lot on here, and why it's so important to have a bit of an understanding about that. Well, we know the main reason why it's important to have an understanding is that obviously if we're scared of fear and scared of the sensations, then we're going to be sort of riding that roller coaster, that emotional roller coaster, as we feel those sensations. So that significantly plays a part in panic disorder when the person's so scared of that sensation. And they then become so terrified of it, they're watching like a hawk internally in their head. How scared are they? Is that sensation rising? What's happening with that sensation? Over and over and over, just watching and observing that. How bad is that sensation? Is it going to rise up into a full-blown panic? And that's there all the time in the background, or rising very much in the sense of panic disorder. And then with generalized anxiety disorder, what is often the case is the person's very scared of being anxious forever, a chronic form of anxiety. Are they going to be stuck anxious for the rest of their life? So all their life is going to be ruined by anxiety. Is that the case? Is that the case for them? Are they concerned about that? And so what then happens is they then watch that cycle as in, please let it go, please go away. I don't want to be stuck in this cycle forever and ever. And they're carefully observing, is that cycle continuing? Because that means all their life and all their happiness and everything is ruined in the future forever and ever and ever and ever. Which is often what fuels in the background OCD, the same time, ruining everything. What if I stay stuck? Now, where I was going to be talking about today here in reference to OCD is what happens is the sufferer gets very, very concerned that they are going to be stuck for not understanding how to get under their OCD fear. So they're going to be stuck in it and they're not going to be able to get it to release because that sensation is going to be stuck there, and they're going to be sort of locked with chronic guilt and chronic anxiety pumping away in the background, and they're not going to fully get under it. So they're very scared of, are they getting the theory right? Am I getting it right? Have I done enough exposures? Have I got under it enough? Have I got unconditional self and life acceptance? And they're terrified of, if that's not and I can still feel that means my whole life's ruined. Well, it's all the same thing. It's the fear of fear persisting for the rest of your life and being there stuck endlessly, not being able to get out of that situation and it destroying your whole life. Even if I had 20 to 30% anxiety back now from today for the rest of my life persisting in the background, my life wouldn't be over. I could still do everything. I could still function, watch films, go out with friends, go to parties, go to restaurants, go and do anything. I could still do all of that. In life, it's about riding with it, persisting, whatever happens, Otherwise, if you put everything off until you're perfectly in a good position, you're never gonna get there because you're going to be constantly waiting all the time for a situation, for it to release, to be able to live your life. Or maybe it's in relation to all different things. Maybe a relationship, waiting till everything's right to ask the person out. Well, that's never going to come. Maybe it's in relation to a job, waiting for everything right till you get into that job. Well, that's, you're going to have hurdles in life, in relationships, in sports, in jobs, in everything. And especially with OCD, you're going to have loads of hurdles, loads of moments where you think you're right back at square one, but you're not back at square one. You'll feel like you're back at square one constantly, whatever happens. And fear of fear is very subtle. It's very sneaky. It's like a sneaky loop that sort of goes back on itself. So it's sort of under the surface, playing away, keeping everything fueled up. And we don't often notice it's at play. So we'll often think it's something else, that it's some thought or fear, when it's actually fear of fear that's just sort of looping in the background. And we're so scared of being stuck in that sensation forever or just feeling it locked. And when we feel relief from it, it's like taking candy from a baby. Once it's had it, it's had that thing that it wants, sweets or whatever a kid wants, and it's had it, and you take it away, it's very annoyed because it's just had that nice sensation. And that's the same when you felt relief temporarily, and then you feel anxiety come back. You're watching it internally like a hawk, and then it rears its head again, and then bang, you're back in the cycle again. So there's a lot of that going on. Now, that is simplistic in the terms of understanding that, as a sort of fear cycle that's going on in there. But there is, of course, more in that. People may be scared of a certain sensation that they experienced in the past. Maybe it's not just a sensation of anxiety, it's maybe anxiety and a guilt sensation combined, or a yucky sensation, or a terrified horror sensation, or variations. It's like anxiety is a bit like when you drink alcohol. You have a different feeling when you drink wine to a different feeling when you drink beer or you have shots. It's a different sensation of a drunk feeling. And that's the same with anxiety. It can be concocted with guilt thrown in. It can be concocted with a sort of terror, like from a horror, like with a visual image. It can be the feeling of the fluttering in the chest. It can be a mixture. It's that sort of concoction that it combines, and how we experience that in the moment. We then remember and be aware, internally aware and scared of that sensation coming back again. That's very much the case. I'll just see if there is any quick questions to cover. Friday the 13th. Well, anxiety regarding Friday the 13th. Well, it'll be the 14th soon, so that's an avoidance way around it. Or, it's just a made-up sort of idea. I mean, all days are just made up. There's no Mondays or Tuesdays. There's just the days going past, and we label them Monday or Tuesday, or we label them numbers. So it's none of that in reality. Same as Christmas Day, Valentine's Day, it's not real. I always tell people that who are like alone at Christmas and I think it's so bad. I say, well, it's the same as every other day. We've just labelled it differently. Person asking about low self-esteem, great book for you to read is Albert Ellis's book on the reading list, one of the third book, The Myth of Self-Esteem. Very good book for you to read. Rob, I've watched your video on solipsism. It helped me a lot. Did you come to the acceptance of this thought by yourself? Or did someone else help you with this theme somehow? That particular theme, I was very much stuck in that with the solipsism, and I was the problem was when I was stuck in that solipsism, I could see that there was no way out of it. Like I could see that I felt like I was in a sort of goldfish bowl. And I remember my sister at the time was having therapy, and she was suffering from solipsism. And she had it far worse than me. It was only a fleeting thought for me. Not fleeting, it was locked on. It became much more it was more locked on in the past. It sort of died down because I had a false memory real event OCD come up that got a hold. So my sister had it gripped for longer. And she was having therapy at the time, and someone had said, her therapist at the time had said to her, you've got to approach it with the idea of that what couldn't you do? What couldn't you do? And I thought, that's a very good way of approaching that at the time. And that was actually an important first part of me understanding about learning to get under worst case scenarios. And I had therapy myself that got into some of the stuff that really helped me, paved some of the way. Didn't go a lot into Albert Ellis, but went a bit into Albert Ellis. The main stuff that was being focused on was acceptance, commitment therapy, and mindfulness, which helped with some level, but didn't fully get under it. It's only with my sort of in-depth investigation into Albert Ellis's work where I really got under those. But a lot of therapy touches on Albert Ellis's thing, some of the principles, but unless it really goes in depth, it doesn't get under it. But OCD is more complicated than that, because it's not just that we're doing. We're doing a whole lot of sort of work on OCD itself, the disorder. That's how we have an understanding of that, because we specialise in OCD. So even if you become accepting of solipsism, there's a lot of things at play there. It's not just being sort of trapped in the universe, stuck out, where you feel like you're a brain in a vat. There's often like fear, being stuck in that forever, feeling separate from other people, disconnected from other people, which has a play of sort of ROCD related things in there. Although I didn't suffer from ROCD, it sort of plays on the disconnection from people and not being able to live your life. So it comes in from various angles. So it is a sneaky thing. Let's have a look here. when you've actually committed a serious mistake, or unconditional self-acceptance gets under it no matter what mistake you've made, because it's unconditional. That was key to me getting better, was realizing that it didn't matter what mistake I'd made. Nothing could be too serious it doesn't matter. It's completely irrelevant. Yeah, self-esteem is too low. That question there is definitely related to the book, The Myth of Self-Esteem, because when you're playing around with self-esteem, as do most sort of self-help books, it's a sort of never-ending cycle where you're just sort of stuck lost, because you're just stuck in a position all the time where you're trying to prop up self-esteem, and that's not going to work. You're not going to just prop up self-esteem. It's not something like that. You've got to get under it, because otherwise with OCD you're going to keep having to prop it, and it's not going to work, because it will just keep going up and down like a roller coaster of emotions. So we need to get rid of the whole concept of self-esteem and move towards unconditional self-acceptance. And that's the key to getting out of all that sort of nonsense that gets caught up, that sort of emotional sort of back and forth that's going on all the time. We should often address the content of the fears. We don't need to do it all the time, but often we have to do it. If you've got one that's really sticky and been locked on for years and hasn't released, you're going to have to get into the content. People who say that you don't have to get into content don't understand OCD very well, because it's something that's going to be very vital for you getting better. Otherwise, you're just going to feel that locked on guilt and anxiety just ongoing without it releasing. The book list gets put up on Instagram stories regularly, and it's in the Facebook group. It will be on the new website that's launched in a week, so you'll find all the books on there. ERP requires us to accept worst case scenario. No, we're going with uncertainty as well, but often we have to accept the worst case scenario because OCD doesn't unlatch. So we need to get used to the balance of uncertainty, as well as in certain instances we need to get under the worst case. Fear of relapse is just fear of fear, same as what this whole video today is about. You're scared of being stuck forever in anxiety and not getting out of it. GAD is generalized anxiety disorder. Puro is just basically OCD with just mental compulsions going on in the head. With generalized anxiety disorder, it's just a sort of another looping cycle, mainly in relation to fear of death, and so on. But I'll do a separate Instagram live on that, because there's a sort of fair bit to that. Guys, great to see you on here. I thought I'd just come on here and do a quick Instagram live covering sort of fear and answering a few questions. And I will be back on in the next couple of days to do another Instagram live on another specific topic. We've got lots of videos coming to you. There's going to be we're putting up 10 to 20 videos a week on the YouTube channel, so if you haven't checked that out already, please do so. There's loads of great videos up there by the guys that are submitting videos all the time. One of the next videos that's going to be up is going to be on family and friends related, so for your family and friends to watch, as well as retroactive jealousy, which is a very common question I get asked about in relation to our OCD. And that will be covered by Kirsty in detail this week. All right, guys, see you all later. Take it easy. Bye.